Here we're going to tie a fly called the Snookie shrimp. This is a great shrimp for snook and also baby tarpon, especially in the mangroves. First thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with a medium pair of Beadchain eyes. I just figure eight around these eyes to secure them into place. Now the next thing we're going to add here is some pseudo hair, also known as polar fiber. I'm going to add some tan pseudo hair into this fly. We're going to use this as the tail of the fly. I'm just going to take a nice healthy chunk of it, about the diameter of a pencil. Smaller the fly you're going to tie, the less you're going to use. I'm going to strip off all the under fur, the base of the pseudo hair. Then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to simply cut a blunt end into the end of it there. I'm going to tie it in. I'm just going to do a nice loose wrap at first, then bind down, secure it. As I tie this in, I'm going to draw the tail up off the shank of the hook. This way the pseudo hair sits right on top of the shank of the hook. It sticks up at a slight angle. Take my thread and just secure it, bind it all down. There we go. Now the next thing to do is we're going to take a brown marker, permanent marker. I'm going to add some barring to the fly. I'm going to try to squeeze in about 4 bars or so. You can do more if you like, but I found that 4 is usually just fine. I space them out about a ½ an inch or so. Don't want to put them too close together. There we go. Now the next thing to do is add a piece of flash to the fly. I'm going to use some copper crystal flash. Just going to tie that in right on the side of the fly. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to add a pair of barred legs. Just going to add those on to the side as well. Do the same thing on the other side. Now that they are secure, I'm going to draw them rearward toward the tail. I'm going to trim them the exact length of the tail. Now the tail portion of the fly is finished, and I'm just going to take these legs and flash and just kind of force them backwards and keep them out of the way. Now the next thing to do is to tie the body. For this we're going to use 2 pieces of saddle hackle. I'm actually going to use Grizzly brown here. It's kind of a harder color to find. If you don't have Grizzly brown, you can mix a brown piece and a Grizzly piece together. That'll give you Grizzly brown. I'm just going to tie these in right at the back of the fly. I'm going to take my thread forward. Kind of clean everything up really quick. I'm going to take this saddle hackle. I'm going to wrap it around the shank of the hook. It's always a bit difficult to kind of get the first wrap going. There we go. I'm just going to lay down wraps, one in front of the other. Oop, caught my rubber leg. Keep that puppy back there out of the way. going to creep our hackle forward. Once we get to the eyes, we're going to capture it. Trim out the excess. Now what we're going to want to do for the next step is we're going to take this hackle, we're going to draw it downwards to each side as much as possible. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a buzz cut. Just going to trim the top half of all the hackles out of there. Blow all the extras out of there. And we're going to take our thread and just jump it right in front of our eyes. We're ready to whip finish. Now once you've got those hackles trimmed, push them out of the way a little bit more. There we go. Now we're ready for the head and also the back. I'm going to use my Loon mixing cup here. A little bit of fly finish. I'm going to mix in some pearlescent powder by Loon. I'm going to take it, use a nail or a bodkin. I'm just going to add it to the top of the fly very carefully. I'm going to work it around the eyes of the fly. I'm going to turn my vise as I'm working with it here. Get it on the underside of the fly. Continue up the other eye. Make sure I get it in over the entire back of the fly. This adds a little bit of color and flash to the fly. It also makes it very, very durable. So I'm in essence covering all the thread. Once I've got it completely coated, ready to give it a zap with our UV light. You can also use direct sunlight as well. This will cure it. Immediately harden the glue. And that's all there is to a Snookie shrimp. Very lifelike and effective fly. Snook just go crazy for it.